Kudos to the photographer at Vanity Fair. This is the Mayday Network, and you are watching The Morning Show.
Yo, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Good morning, everyone. Today is December 17th. It is 8:10 a.m. We're starting a little late because Julie was down at CNN. She did CNN this morning. And make sure my mic is here. She did CNN this morning, and the car that was supposed to get her back to the apartment to do the show never showed up. So she was scrambling to get home, and we were kind of waiting to see if she would get there in time. If I was going to be by myself, I needed to make sure that I was completely and utterly equipped to do the show. But she will be here soon. She's on her way home. She's not too far from Hudson Yards, where CNN happens. So, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Please, if you have any questions or anything, send them in the chat. It is, gosh, I can't believe it's Wednesday already. We are 8 days till Christmas, which kind of seems crazy. I think tonight is the fourth night of Hanukkah. I've got my little tree here and a little menorah in solidarity with all my Jewish chosen family. There's been a lot of bad news. It's really been very difficult to avoid. But I do have to say, in moments like this, that we have to find comfort in the things that are funny. And these people do need to be laughed at. And one of those things that I want to talk about first is the Vanity Fair article that seems to be all over the news. It's really fantastic. At first, when I saw it, I was actually kind of angry because I was like, oh gosh, why is Vanity Fair platforming these people? These people are monsters. And then I saw the photograph. So we're going to talk about that in a second here. But I also want to talk a little bit later about the Rob Reiner story, which, we talked about this yesterday, that Donald Trump's statement about Rob Reiner's gruesome death, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, his wife, gruesome death at the hands of their son, Nick. And there's really been a lot of backlash about this. A lot of people on the right, people surprisingly, I think there was the usual suspects that were horrified, but there were some others that because I think Rob Reiner was someone, I know that he was someone who, even if you disagreed with him, for the most part, people admired him because he made films that shaped who we are, and not to mention as a political activist and as a human being, he made sure that even if he disagreed with you, that he reached out to people and treated them as human beings, and not as enemies. And just in the couple interactions that I had with him, in my professional life, he was lovely, just and cared so deeply. And I think people know that about him. And I do think this is just another crack in MAGA. Welcome, I guess. I don't know how people didn't know how awful he is, but here we are in the end of 2025, and people are apparently just finding out for the first time, or just realizing for the first time, that Donald Trump is a horrible human being. And then also there's a pair of pants that belong to Elise Stefanik that I would love to share with everyone. But before we get to that, let's talk about this Vanity Fair article, shall we? So there was two parts. I'm going to throw this up here. I've got my other laptop going here. This is the article. This is the first part. So when I opened up my phone yesterday, I was like, what is this? Why are all these, the worst people in America? First of all, the guy second from the right, I was like, who is that? I guess I feel like I should know who that is, but I didn't know who that was. I guess he's very close to the president and works in the White House. Um, McCaber Tavern, says, "Can I get this picture as toilet paper?" Truly, truly. I'm sure we could I'm sure someone, somewhere could arrange that. Um, so but then you dig deeper here and you realize that what's going on here. Um, so there was 2 parts. Susie Wiles, JD Vance, and the Junkyard Dogs, the White House chief of staff on Trump's second term. Ooh, guess what? Guess who's here?
Oh, you
OMG,
guys.
it's Julie Roginski. How you
Guys.
doing?
Oh my God. So
Uh,
I was at CNN just now, Michelle, and it was perfectly timed for me to get back home to start the show, which is what I told them had to happen.
yeah,
CNN has a tremendous amount of security, so you can't just go up and down.
you look fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, hair and
Yeah.
makeup. Thanks.
Yeah.
Not me. So I
But
go
it is
downstairs.
you.
Well, it's me with a lot of help. So I go
Yeah.
downstairs and get the car. I look for the car. The car is not there. I call the car company and I'm like, "Where are you?" Because they're usually really good. And they're like, "Oh no, we're told to come pick you up at 8:45." I'm like, 8:45. I'm like, "No,
Oh,
no, I'm
no,
like,
no,
no, my
no.
friend, 7:45." So I run to the subway. I take 2 trains to get here, but it took me 15 minutes from Hudson Yards, which is
Did you
miraculous.
take
Thank
the
you.
7 to
7 to the
34th
2
and
to the 2,
yeah,
3. And here I am. So hi,
there
everybody.
you are. Hello. We
Hello.
started a little late just because, since I was by myself, I knew I'd be starting by myself. I wanted to make sure I had everything I needed to start so I wasn't, lagging. And I had just thrown up, well, I had told people that we were going to talk about this Vanity Fair article, which is Chef's Kiss.
Uh-huh.
We're going to talk about Elise Stefanik's pants, which also Chef's Kiss, and also a poll that came out. I don't know if you saw. There's a poll, a
Oh,
gubernatorial poll that has Elise Stefanik up against Kathy Hochul, and
it's not going well for her.
oh, it's not going.
Well, let's talk about this Vanity Fair thing because actually,
Yeah.
I have an observation about Vanity Fair, which I actually made on CNN today, and then I got all
Okay.
these
I didn't
texts.
watch. I'm sorry because I
Yeah,
couldn't
it's
get my
okay.
Hulu to
It's
work on my
okay.
phone.
But nobody's making this observation.
How did it go?
It was fine. John Berman is great, by the way. Anybody who watches CNN, John Berman is the best. But I will say this.
I don't know if is it me or is it you? You're breaking up a little bit.
I am. My mic is working. Why don't I go out and come back in? Okay. Let me know. Let me know if I'm.
No, it's your connection. It's your connection.
Oh, it's still not good?
Why don't you come out and then come back in?
All right. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Let me know in the chat, guys. Is this fine here? Good here? I don't know. Maybe it was just me. Michelle looks hazy. Well, now it's my fault. Well, maybe it's my fault because I'm doing the show for another room.
Oh, is this better
Let me
for
know.
everybody?
Michelle's okay. Let me do it now. You talk and then I'll do it.
All right. So here's the observation that I made. So basically, I was at CNN and I made this point. I actually have a Substack coming out on it today. But the point is this: these people have made a cottage industry after going after elite media. All we heard about for the last 10 years is I'm going to stand up for you against the coastal elites. I'm going to stand up for you against, the powerful and the connected. My friends, Vanity Fair is the epitome. It was designed, it was created to cater to the coastal elites and people who wanted to know what was happening. And these are the people that do the Oscar party. I don't know if they still do it, but for decades they had the most coveted Oscar party, after party. These are the people who lunch at Michael's, which is a place in New York City where the media elite goes for lunch, right off Fifth Avenue. This is like Condé Nast. These are the most inside people on earth. And to have Donald Trump authorize his chief of staff, his vice president, his secretary of state, his press secretary, his, you know, evil Knievel, Stephen Miller, and all of these people closest to him to take time out of their day destroying the country to do this is hilarious, because what he's basically saying to MAGA is, fuck you. Sorry, Dad. I am going to do what I've always done, which is I'm going to try to get in with the people who have always rejected me as the guy from Queens, but I'm going to try to press my nose up against that glass at Michael's again by trying to get into Vanity Fair. And if I'm some MAGA person who's been told for decades, for years, that Donald Trump is going to stand up for me, this is what I've learned. He will shoot me on Fifth Avenue and think nothing of it because he said so. But there's no way in hell he's ever going to shoot those people who are crossing Fifth Avenue on their way in their town cars on their way to get dropped off at Michael's and 56th between 5th and 6th or 55th. I forgot where it is. Because those people are the people that Donald Trump wants to be in with. And I just, like, it's hilarious to me. It's not even what Susie Wiles said. It's the fact that they did it in the first place. It's the fact that they did it in the first place. It is such an FU to MAGA. That's why he agreed to be humiliated in Vanity Fair. He doesn't care as long as he's in Vanity Fair. He doesn't care. That's why they're all defending her. And listen, the problem with inviting Vanity Fair into the White House is simple. The magazine doesn't need Trump's validation, but Trump needs theirs. And that imbalance is painfully obvious. The MAGA base may not read Vanity Fair, but it understands betrayal when it sees it. They've been betrayed. Mm-hmm. And nothing screams betrayal louder than denouncing elites while overtly begging them to notice you. Right?
Yeah.
For all the, yeah, I mean, listen, for all the rage, all the rallies, all the talks of real Americans, Trump still wants to be loved by the very world he pretends to despise. Mm-hmm. Right. As I said, look, he might think he could get away with shooting his supporters on Fifth Avenue, but he would never dare to touch the media elites like Vanity Fair as they cross Fifth Avenue to lunch at Michael's. He would just simply say, yeah, I mean,
yeah, there was a joke that we always made. There was always a joke that we made at LP that was like, Ivanka's never getting invited to the Met Gala ever again. Mm-hmm. And it's because that's the stuff that matters to them the most. And it's, and I heard you talking about Mom Donnie before. I was like refreshing. You know, it's, or maybe you were just talking about Queens or something. Maybe that's what it was. Queens, yeah. So, and I was thinking about Mom Donnie, sorry. And we've talked about this, you know, why when he came in, I think it was like, oh, finally somebody from New York. I've got to hang around all these losers from like South Dakota and like, you know, all these people that he'd never be caught dead with. Never.
I mean, the reason he likes Susie Wiles, let's be very clear, is for two reasons. One is he needed to shiv Ron DeSantis, and she was the person to help him do it. Which kudos to you, Susie Wiles. I mean, I respect that tremendously. But the other thing is she's Pat Summerall's daughter. That's the attraction.
Well, and then okay. At my last place of employment, there was someone that I worked with that often got calls from Susie Wiles, often late at night. Maybe she'd been out. Maybe she'd been having, you know, some Chardonnay. We don't know. All I know is what I heard and what I was told. And I think this was during her time with Ron DeSantis, I think. And she would talk and share things. So there's some things about Susie Wiles. I think that she likes to talk. I think she likes to talk to people, but I also think that she's the one person in Trump's orbit who knows everything. I think she knows what's going on with his health. I think that she has alluded to as much to some people. And that's why she's working with this circle of people that were all featured in Vanity Fair. They all know what's going on. And I think that they're trying to make moves. And And that's also, I think, why in this mess up of her, like on the other side of this, which we'll talk about, there is a very coordinated effort on the right to protect Susie Wiles, and everyone's coming out on Twitter and Truth Social saying, no, 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 Susie's wonderful, and this is a hit job by Vanity Fair. But here's the thing. This article is two parts because one's kind of like about this inner circle of people, right? It's the Marco Rubio, JD Vance, Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino, Caroline Levitt, Susie Wiles. And then the other part of this is Susie Wiles running her mouth. And I don't know if she doesn't know the difference between on background and on the record. That's surprising if she doesn't know the
I
difference.
don't think she does. I don't think she does because she's never talked to the media really. And I think the problem, listen, it is like, look, I think the first thing I ever learned, truly, the first campaign I ever worked on was, first of all, when you're a young staffer, you're told never to speak to the press on pain of death. However, the first campaign I ever worked on was up in Maine, and it was 1996. I was the research director, which is kind of funny because I wasn't directing anything. It was just me. But I was taught two things. I was in a meeting and they were talking about GOTV, and I was like, what kind of TV? And I did not know until then that GOTV stood out for Get Out the Vote. I was 22 when I learned that. And then the second thing I learned, even though I was not allowed to talk to the press at the age of 22 or 23 years old, in my first campaign, was there's on the record, there's on background, and there's off the record. Susie Wiles, at the age of whatever she is,
68. She's 68 years old.
68 years old, who has presumably worked in politics for many decades, never understood what off the record means or on background, because I got to give Susie Wiles credit for this, Michelle, before we move on to the photographers, because I think it's hilarious. She is so good at shivving people. It's crazy. And if she had done this on background, it would have been mwah, chef's kiss. I mean, let me just read to you kind of what she said about Kristi Noem without ever mentioning Kristi Noem's name, right? Let me just pull it up. I will concede that we've got to look harder at our process for deportation. Then she was speaking of two mothers who were deported with their children when they voluntarily showed up at a routine immigration check-in. This is what she said. I can't understand how you make that mistake, but somebody did. Somebody. Right. And then she goes after Vance and basically talks about how he has no ideology, unlike Marco Rubio. He's not a man of principle, which is what she basically called Rubio. She called him a little bit more sort of political. And then she labeled him a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And, all of this is great if you're going to do it off the record or on background, not off the record, on background. She didn't. She went on the record like a dope. Like a dope. And if you're asking what she did in politics before the chief of staff job, she was a strategist, which is great.
Yep.
She was
Florida.
And
the reason she doesn't say anything bad about Marco Rubio here, in fact, she actually kind of praises him, is because Marco Rubio is her guy. She was with him from the Florida days. Like, the reason he is Secretary of State is because of her. Like, that is her guy. And like, in a normal world, somebody like Susie Wiles probably never would have worked for somebody like Donald Trump. But then again, I don't know that Kellyanne Conway would have either. A lot of people have sold their souls to work for this man. But Linda has a question here. What does on background mean?
Okay, so here's what on background means. Let me pretend that I want to shift. Let me pretend that I'm talking about Michelle, right? If I want to say to a reporter on the record, Michelle Kinney is the most brilliant, creative, beautiful person I know, right? Which is true. If I said that on the record, I would be quoted. If I said, hey, off the record, you've got to establish off the record first, and the reporter has to agree. So it has to be a two-way street. If I said to you and you're a reporter, hey, I'm going to tell you something off the record, and you got to agree. And I would say, you should look into so-and-so's background. Like, you should look into, or I'm going to give you a trove of documents that shows that so-and-so has a cocaine problem and never pays his taxes and so. Here's the trove of documents. I'm giving this to you off the record, which means that it's not coming from me.
Mhm.
But just to let you know, maybe you should go pursue. Maybe we should call the so and so
Yeah.
police, the New York City Police Department, and ask them,
Yep.
whatever. That's off the record. And background is what Susie Wiles should have done to Christy Nome, which is
Mhm.
that you're quoted saying, I don't know how that happened. I don't know. I mean, this person's totally incompetent. Or what she said about Pam Bondi, her fellow Florida girl, right?
Right.
Like she ran her mouth about the Epstein files. You could quote me on that, but you can't quote me by name.
Mhm.
So we're going to establish how you're going to quote me. I want to be quoted as a senior White House source,
Yep.
or I want to be quoted as somebody close to the president, or I want to be quoted as somebody close to the situation. You can use that quote, but you can't use my name. That's how you really shank somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what she should have done. But she didn't, because she does not know the difference between on the record and on background.
Which is, I mean, I don't do what she does, and I know that. Like, I don't know. Like, if you don't want to be quoted with your name verbatim, you have to say the words, "This is off the record." You have to
Or on
say the
background.
word.
Or on
Yeah.
background. You want to be quoted, but you want to be quoted not by name.
Right.
And this is what I do. I mean, this is literally this is
Right.
what I
Right.
do for a living. And I will tell you, I am floored. Remember that Seinfeld? Did you guys watch Seinfeld? Do you remember that episode where Jerry goes to where the dentist, where Tim Watley, his dentist, converts to Judaism, and he starts making Jewish jokes because now he's Jewish and he can make Jewish jokes. And
Oh,
Jerry
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jerry
Yeah.
walks into a church and he goes to a confession. He goes to confession. He talks to the priest, and he says, I have a friend who I think converted to Judaism just for the jokes." And the priest says, "Does this offend you as a Jewish person?" And Seinfeld goes, "No, it offends me as a comedian." And this
Right,
is
right, right.
this is basically, yeah, like he did it for the jokes. And this is like, this offends me as a comedian. I'm not offended by what she said. I'm offended that she's too dumb to understand how to do this right.
Yeah,
It offends me as a comedian.
that's the thing. And like, she says also that she didn't know that she and Trump that Todd Blanche was going down to see Ghislaine Maxwell, and they
I
didn't know
mean,
that I don't know that I believed that.
of course not. And by
Yeah.
the way, if that's true, because this Justice Department does
Right. If
everything
that's
according to
true,
the White
that's
House.
like what?
What?
Right.
And the president was upset about it. Was he really? Because he could just tell Todd Blanche to move her right back.
Right. Exactly. And actually, if he did do that, it would probably look better for him if he did that.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like taking a stand against Ghislaine, but again, he's not going to do that because Ghislaine knows too much about him. And the same thing about Susie Wiles. So Kev Cox is asking why isn't Trump firing her? Because Susie Wiles is a few things. Susie Wiles is an operator. She knows a whole lot, and she'll start talking. And she might not do it on the record, right? Like we're talking, she'll do it on background, and she will start leaking and leaking and leaking. And listen, I'm not convinced that she already hasn't been. And somebody else asked in the chat, like why, she should go talk to Michael Wolff. She might be already talking to Michael Wolff.
Oh, or she's talking to somebody who she knows is talking to Michael Wolff.
Right.
She has plausible deniability.
To make sure, right, so that she can get the information to the right people.
Right. And what I think is interesting is that Trump hired her originally because he wanted her to, he liked what she did. She got fired and pushed out by Ron DeSantis. Yep. Basically, she created Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis.
And also, like, Casey DeSantis runs that show, just so everybody knows. So, yeah.
But Ron DeSantis pushed her out. Ron DeSantis betrayed her.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of experience with electing a governor who then proceeds to shiv you, right? So I have tremendous respect for what Susie Wiles.
She wanted to stick it to him.
She wanted to stick it to him. She did sort of, I so respect this. She went to Trump and she said to Trump, I'm going to help you stick it to Ron DeSantis. And she did. And if you look at where Ron DeSantis is today, it's over for him. Nobody even talks about him. Done.
And Casey also, thinks she's going to run for governor of Florida. I don't
Yeah,
know that how
totally.
that's gonna go for her now,
It's
especially
over.
since the information about her charity and, like, funneling money and, like, there's a
It,
lot of
you know,
shadiness.
and I'm sure that probably came from Susie Wiles or somebody close to her too.
That's right, right,
But
exactly.
the bigger problem is Trump has already stepped into that primary and he anointed somebody else. I think he anointed Byron Donalds. And
Mhm,
so again, to stick it to DeSantis, to stick it to Casey,
mhm.
that's Susie Wiles. Trump
Yep,
he saw what Susie Wiles did
yep, and he
to
liked
him,
it.
and he liked it, but he also knows that she could do it to him.
Yep,
And
yep.
if you believe, as I do, that he has serious medical issues, and if you believe, as
Mhm,
I do, that I think I know what those issues are, I have zero evidence of this, but it sounds very much to me like he's going through Alzheimer's protocol right now. The
mhm.
last thing he wants is to fire Susie Wiles and then have
Right.
Susie Wiles, and then he's going to trash her like he trashed John Kelly, he trashed all his other chiefs of staff. And
Mhm.
that's okay because Susie Wiles isn't going to go on the record and defend herself. She's just going to give shit to the press.
Oh, yeah. Because again, she doesn't have a media, persona that she needs to protect either
She
because
doesn't
she
care.
doesn't do TV, she doesn't do, any of this stuff. This is why
She
it's
doesn't
so
care.
rare.
She's got
It's so
money.
rare.
Yeah, listen, Susie Wiles is going to go back to Florida when this is all over. Whether she
Mhm.
goes back to Florida in Trump's good graces or bad graces is up to Trump. But she's going
Yeah.
to go back to Florida and she's going to continue to live her life, whatever she does. And the only outstanding question is, does she do it quietly or does she do it in getting revenge on Trump after he screws her? Because he knows what she did to DeSantis. I want to be really clear. And that's why you're seeing all of these people
Mhm,
rally
mhm,
behind her. I mean, it was a
mhm,
coordinated effort from Donald Trump
mhm.
Jr.
Everybody,
to
everybody.
Vance to I mean, everybody,
Pete Hegseth,
everybody,
everybody was
everybody.
defending her. Mhm. Everybody. And I
And
think the word went out, like the memo,
oh,
the bat signal went
d
out and everyone was
defend
like,
Susie.
"Okay, we're all gonna protect Susie now." Like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this is a
defend
hit
Susie.
job." I'm like, I don't know." I was like, "Because again," so I'm gonna throw this up here. She was on the record and they recorded this. So when Susie Wiles says, right, she puts out a tweet and she says, "I didn't say any of this. This is ridiculous. How dare they? Blah 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 blah." The New York Times, they're like, "Okay, well, we'd like to corroborate the story." They call the reporters over at Vanity Fair and they said, "Can you confirm that she has said these things?" And Vanity said, "Sure," said, "Absolutely. We have the transcript and we have recordings." And so they played one of the recordings for, the reporters at the New York Times and they were like, "Oh, okay, great. Confirmed, confirmed." Um, so there's two parts here to this article. And sorry, there's a little bit of a lag here. Where are the pictures? Oh yeah, here's the other thing, okay? Here's the other thing that I just feel like I need to talk about. In between in between my life in show business and doing what I do now, I worked as a photographer for many years, and I photographed countless weddings, headshots for actors, book covers, um, diplomats, a former secretary of state. Like, I photographed all kinds of people. Um, what this photographer did, whose name is Christopher Anderson, um, I actually wrote in one of the comments in Vanity Fair, I tagged him and I was like, "This is diabolical work."
Well
well,
played, sir. Well
well
played.
done. Because this is the photographer's known for his raw style. Yes. So what's I can tell you as a photographer here what happened. They went in here and I'm sure he was chosen for a specific reason. Although some of the other photographs are kind of like softer and nicer
How do
looking.
you
And
not by
so,
the way, how do you not negotiate all of this beforehand? This is
oh
the part
yes.
that I just don't understand. Again, I do
Mhm.
this for a living.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that Susie Wiles, first of all, did not have a press aide sitting next to her, which she
Mhm.
didn't because some of these interviews were her doing laundry at home or something. But how you don't have a press aide establishing, hey, reporter, this is going to be off the record. This part is going to be on background. Like you jump in. She
Right.
obviously didn't have that, clearly.
Or we'd like final editorial control over
That
what
they're not going to
photos
give
are
you.
used.
Yeah, that
They're
they're
not
not going to give you. No.
okay.
They're
Even
not
for
going to.
somebody like Vanity Fair, they won't give that to you.
No,
Mm.
they're a real news outlet. They're never going to give you
Yeah,
final. But
yeah, unless I
how
guess
you
it
know,
was, yeah, a
the part
profile.
that you should negotiate or no deal is we get final approval on the photographs. They may say
Well,
no.
that's what I mean. That's what I was asking. I was like,
Oh, and then
final
you
approval
negotiate.
on the
Yeah,
photograph.
yeah,
Yeah,
on photographs, maybe, maybe Vanity Fair might say no, but you
yeah.
have to. I mean, you negotiate that out. Like you just, it's obvious to me that nobody did this. It's obvious to me that Trump was like, everybody get on board. It's Vanity Fair. These are the magazine represent. I mean, not, besides the New Yorker, I don't know what else represents the elites more
Mhm.
than Vanity Fair. And the New Yorker is kind of the intellectual elite. Vanity
Yeah.
Fair is the celebrity elite, right?
Yes.
And that's they
Yes.
thought. I'm telling you, they thought they were gonna have photographs like they
Oh,
were
yeah,
George,
there was
like
gonna be
George and
like an
Amal
Annie
Clooney.
Leibovitz kind
Oh,
of like glossy,
it was gonna be the
beautiful.
Clooney's. They thought it was gonna be a George and Amal Clooney situation, and
Yep.
that's what they
Yep.
should have negotiated out, but they didn't because
Right.
they suck. And again, to quote Jerry Seinfeld, I'm not offended as a Jewish person. I'm offended as a comedian. Like
Right.
I just cannot believe how bad they are at this.
So bad. And so, I went back and I look at the photographers of the work, right? And so it's like pretty like on brand for the most part, kind of. The thing that gets me, so here's the thing, especially with women, especially with people over maybe the age of 35, right? You have to be more mindful if you care about the people. You have to be more mindful of like what kind of lighting you're using, right? So you want to use like a bigger light source, right? You want softer light that's kind of like a little, hitting the face to kind of fill in the lines, the fine lines. You don't want any like smaller, harsher light that's more directional. You don't want anything that can bring any high contrast out of someone's face, right? Um, and you also want to direct your subject to, and this is why I mean I try to spend a little bit of time with the people I'm photographing. I mean, obviously some people you can't, but again, if it's a headshot or a portrait or something like that, you spend a little bit of time, you get to know them, even just for 5 minutes, get to talk to them, and you want to bring something out of them, from your point of view, right? Whether that be strength, whether that be, whatever it is, intellectual, capacity of the person. Um, the moments that they captured, and the editor of this article, the things that they chose are so deliberate. And this is where, even as like a performer too, you don't mess with lighting and you don't mess with sound. You're nice to these people. You say please, you say thank you, because they have the power to really mess up your performance, right? Same with photographers. And I guarantee it. So when I wrote in the thing, I was like, this is diabolical work, well done. And he like immediately liked it. So I was like, oh, okay,
All
this
right.
is what's going on here. So, um, so here's this photograph. Like, and then this is what I'm saying. Like, this is a little bit softer. Like, this is the one that actually
That's
pissed me
okay.
off. Well, this is the picture that actually pissed me off at first. I was like, what? I was like, why are they platforming these people? And then I dug deeper. And then I saw this. This is quite bad. And also, like, I mean, again, this
She
is
looks like Charles Manson. She
it's
looks like she
crazy.
just
It's
yeah,
crazy.
she looks like she just got like off a ketamine bender and at least somebody,
Yeah.
took her in.
And just so people know, like, you can always see the light source in someone's eyes. So there's two light sources going on right now. There's a harsher like key light that's going on right here, and then there's a softer, probably like hair light that's a little bit further back that looks softer. So the one in the front is lighting her, and you can see it right in the middle of her eye. It's very severe, and that's where that is. And that's why you're seeing now hers. I mean, her eyes look crazy, but like the rest of it's like not as bad. But Caroline Levitt's, okay? This is the one that's everyone's going crazy about. There's a couple things going on here.
She's 28 years old, my friends. She's 28 years old. I just want to be clear. 28 years old. I am
It's so
52
good.
years old, and here,
Mhm.
same thing. Just had makeup done like she did. Here you go.
Yeah. So what's happening here too, and again, like, I'm very transparent. Like, I have a dermatologist. I get Botox 3 times a year, maybe I get a little bit of filler to kind of fill out my face, especially after I lost weight. And like, I'm very, very transparent about that. Um, I've never had my lips done though. And that's what she had done. And like, again, God bless, get your lips done. But there is good work and there's bad work. And she has, you can see the injection marks all along the
Yep.
top of her overdrawn lips. And again, this overdrawn lips thing is part of this MAGA look, right? Same with the filler. And you have to be, I mean, you have to be smart about the filler, especially if you're on camera. And I can't imagine they knew that this was happening. They knew that
That's
this
probably why she
photo
got it.
shoot. That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you go and get lip filler right before? It's like getting a haircut the day before you're getting your headshot taken. Like, things can go wrong. Why would you go there? Why would you do this? It's not smart. And I saw another MAGA person. In like on Twitter being like, how dare this photographer add extra things to her face and blah blah blah. And I'm like, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't. Here's the thing. I'm not going to make fun of anybody's appearance, and God bless. Like you, Michelle, I get Botox a few times a year. I have a little bit of filler. I have never gotten my lips done. In fact, when I used to be at Fox, I used to get comments at least once a week about stop doing lip injections, and I was like, no, these are my own.
Yeah.
But I will say this: she's 28 years old, and she's getting a tremendous amount of work done, which you can see.
Yeah.
Because that's how Trump likes it.
Yes.
And all of these people have completely changed up their appearance because Trump raves about her lips. Those lips. So
Oh,
she's
yeah.
like, oh, I've got to get
He probably
lip
says it to her all the time.
And if you
It's
saw
just like
pictures of
more,
her when
more.
she was running, if you saw pictures of her when she was running for Congress,
Or when she was Elise Stefanik's communications director.
yeah, she's a pretty young woman.
Oh, yeah,
Who
totally.
doesn't
I mean, she's
do
awful, but
anything.
yeah, cute.
She's an awful person, but she doesn't need to do it. And
Mhm.
can we just talk for a second about this craziness with filler and injections at the age of 20 that these people are
It's a
doing?
generation. Well, it's also a generational thing. I've talked to my dermatologist about this. I was like, why are the younger people looking old? And she said it's because there is this hyper awareness of like skincare and things like that because of TikTok and whatever else. And she's like, I don't want to blame TikTok, but the hyper awareness is there. And number one, there's so much product and people are constantly trying to do new things with when skin influencers and stuff, and they're like buying new stuff and it's creating more inflammation in their faces. That's number one. And number two, they're getting injectables way too young. And
Way
that
too
is
young.
Botox before you even have a single wrinkle on your face. That's too much filler. And filler is what it makes your face. Botox freezes your muscles so that your skin doesn't make wrinkles essentially. But
Right.
filler is it's an injectable that like creates volume in your face. And if you're not careful, first of all, you can look like a real freak show. And second of all, if you're getting it too young, what you're doing is erasing the actual youthfulness of your face and the fat and the collagen that you naturally have.
Yep.
You can't see it because you're artificially putting other stuff around it and it makes you look older. And that is a generational thing that is also happening, but it's also a Mar-a-Lago face problem also.
The Mar-a-Lago face thing is real. Mar-a-Lago face emanated from Fox face because that's, when I worked at Fox, I have to be careful here because of my stupid NDA, but, Roger Ailes liked a certain look. And that's what the look was, right? It was sort of this, right? Big hair. You guys know what I look like without the hair and makeup. It was fake.
Guys, go Google Julie and on YouTube, like search because like honestly, your hair is like
it's
makeup.
huge.
It's like
the makeup. It's everything's over exaggerated, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, you look very beautiful, but yes.
Thank you. But everything was over exaggerated, and it would take me an hour in hair and makeup to look that way. Now, I miss my Fox hair and makeup team. They were fantastic. But there was no plastic surgery involved. There was no whatever. That morphed into this exaggerated, clownish Mar-a-Lago face where you take all of
It's
that
yeah.
and then you add in a ton of injectables and a ton
Mhm.
of filler and a ton of everything. And Florida is well known for all of their derma spas, like Boca Raton.
Yeah, that's the
You
other
know,
thing is people are going to people who aren't doctors. They're
yeah,
going to, like, randos and, like, don't I would highly recommend people do not ever do that because
yeah. And
it's
so,
dangerous, but also you look like a freak show.
and you look like a freak show. And, you know, what you need to do, I would think, and again, I've never had plastic surgery on my
Yeah, me
face
neither. Yeah.
or anywhere on my body, except I had an accident when I was little. My leg got
Mm,
severely mangled, so I had a plastic surgery on part of my leg. But aside from that, right? Like that's it.
yeah.
You need to find, and I'm complete. Listen, I am a big proponent in do whatever you think makes you feel better. So if you
Mhm.
want
Oh,
Mar-a-Lago
same,
face, if
same.
you want Mar-a-Lago face, go for it. Like
And
not my
also,
cup.
like, my philosophy is if you can look in the mirror and you can feel good about yourself, whatever you wanna do, whatever. God bless. Do your
Yeah,
thing.
God
And we're
bless.
dying every day. If you wanna look good while you're still alive, that is your
Yeah.
business. Your body,
I
your choice. Yeah.
agreed. Your body, your choice. I'm all for it. And so I don't want to criticize even Caroline Levitt. The one thing I would say to women who are
Yeah, well,
28
love
years
it.
old, without mentioning her,
Yeah.
is you will never look this naturally good again.
Never. Never ever.
Never. And if I were you and you want to get Mar-a-Lago face, find a plastic surgeon who's going to tell you
No.
what looks good and who's going to
Or
say
no.
no, who's going to say no to you when you start going crazy.
Mhm.
And not just take your money because you want to look like a caricature of what somebody on Fox looks like, which is basically
Right.
Mar-a-Lago face. And I will
Yes.
tell you, if you don't believe me, look at what Kimberly Guilfoyle used to look like on Fox, and then look at what she looks like now,
Or Lara Trump.
or Lara Trump,
Lara
right?
Trump didn't used to
Um,
look like that.
yeah, I mean, it's taking something that is exaggerated, but I think really the Fox hair and makeup team, all of them are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then taking it to I mean, to quote Spinal Tap, taking it to 11. Like this goes to 11 in ways that are just crazy,
Mhm.
crazy. Ivanka, I have to say, actually has done a good job with her stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ivanka again is diabolical, but she's
Yeah.
very pretty. Yeah.
So it's just
It's
it's
it's it's
crazy.
morphing yourself into it's not even the male gaze, it's the Donald Trump gaze.
It's the Donald
And
Trump
having
days.
and having to morph yourself into that, sorry, sitting right by the window. Meow, um, you know, it's sad and it's not a lot of this, at least with filler, I guess you can dissolve it and it's not forever, but the plastic surgery stuff is worse. But the other thing here is that I guess this should have come with a trigger warning. There was all kinds of close-up photos here. Um, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, Donald Trump thinks all press is good press no matter what. But it says, the Daily Beast wrote an article about the article. It says, "We're all going to get fired for this," said one of the officials in the group, which included Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Deputy Chiefs of Staff James Blair, who I had no idea who that was. I was like, "Who's James Blair?" And Dan Scavino and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. And then JD Vance said, "Except for me, I have 100% job security." And they did this group photo of all of them together. That's
And
some
Scavino was a late ad. She insisted Scavino
yeah,
join. Was
yeah.
part.
Um,
Here's the problem.
yeah.
Here's the problem, Michelle. Donald Trump has never recovered from Graydon Carter, who's the former editor of Vanity Fair, calling him, quote, a short-fingered vulgarian back when Graydon Carter ran Mad magazine.
Mhm.
And that line lodged in Trump's psyche like shrapnel. And decades later, he still fumes about it. He still stews about it.
Oh,
He
yeah.
still behaves as though the ultimate vindication would be to prove that the Vanity Fair crowd finally wants him, especially
Mhm.
now that Graydon Carter is gone.
Yep. Exactly.
This is a
Exactly.
therapy session for Donald Trump. Look at me now. Look who's inside the palace. he's still dying for applause from the very audience that never accepted him. And that audience is the crowd that lunches at Michael's. You and I have both lunched at Michael's, so we know. The
Mhm.
editors and power brokers who float effortlessly between Manhattan and LA and Europe. And that's the world to which Trump always wanted entry, but which never admitted him. There are people who laughed at him when he wanted legitimacy. Now that he's got legitimacy, they observe him with a mixture of horror and fascination. And
Yeah.
that's the world that he wanted to conquer, or at least be photographed in it, so that he could convince himself that he belonged. That's
Well,
why
and
you
it's
have right now.
yeah, and it's like trying to conquer Manhattan real estate as the kid from Queens. It's
Mhm.
all of that. It's having never been accepted into a world with the Tishes and like, all of these like upper crust rich people. And the thing is about a lot of rich people in New York is they don't put gilded gold crap on
No,
everything. Yet
no.
most rich people in New York, you don't know that they're rich when you first meet them. You just don't know. But like Donald Trump is so desperate to show the world that he's important. And this is just another example of that. And one of the last things I just want to say here about this is this quote: Wiles, whom Rubio has said has an earned trust with Trump, said the president has a quote, an alcoholic's personality, called Vance a conspiracy theorist, accused former Doge head Elon Musk of being an avowed ketamine user, and I think she also said separately that he's an odd duck and sleeps in a sleeping bag in his office, and goes and Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vogt as a quote right wing zealot.
And not to mention all the stuff that she said about Bondi, all the stuff that she said about Vance, all the stuff that
Mhm,
she said obliquely about Noam and Homan.
mhm. What'd she say about Tom Homan? I miss that?
Well, she didn't
What'd she
say
say
anything
about
by
him?
name, but that's what I was saying to you, where she was going
Oh,
after
I
them by
see.
basically saying, like, these guys are nuts. I don't know why they're pulling, mothers off the street and sending them, deporting them with their children when all they're doing is following the rules and showing up to their immigration hearings.
Right.
Um, and she's right about all of it. She's
Mhm.
right about all of it. I mean, I find it refreshing that she said it. But to me, this is so emblematic. This is so emblematic of what goes on in Trump world, right? It's
Mhm.
so emblematic of like this. I mean, this maneuver is familiar to anybody who's followed this.
Yeah. Oh,
Elevating,
absolutely.
she's elevating herself by diminishing everybody else. And the subtext is
Mhm.
unmistakable. Without me, this place would collapse.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing is everybody thinks that they're not replaceable, but everyone is replaceable
Yeah.
everywhere. And you and I have talked about this.
Oh,
And like, you think that
nobody's
you're not
irreplaceable.
replaceable. Everyone is replaceable. Like, and you're like, no, 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 but that no, you are. And life goes on. And that's the thing that I think that people don't seem to understand about themselves inside Trump world is that you can make yourself an absolutely like necessary part of the furniture and they'll just, tear the house down and build a new one. Like they don't care. Um, and another person who has learned this, I think, the hard way, is Elise Stefanik, who, who I have to just talk about here because if
Oh, we
I'm
gotta
gonna
talk
be
about
if I'm gonna be petty today, like let's go all the way. So there this tweet, and actually Tara sent this to me yesterday. She was like, Michelle, you have to see this. Timmy Faciola tweets, do they not have tailors in the North Country?
Can you
A
just zoom
store
in
said,
on can you just zoom in on those pants?
oh, I can.
Girl, she better win and become governor of New York so somebody can bring her down to New York City and show her
Oh
how
my
to
God,
put
but
tailor on
I
foot.
mean, I just
So here's the
here's the
thing.
thing. I'm
Go
5 feet tall. I'm 5 feet tall. There's not a single pair of pants or dress or anything that I buy that fits me. I have to bring everything to the tailor. I have to budget in at least another $50 for everything I buy like that so that I can have it tailored, so that my pants aren't dragging on the floor. And if they were, and it was an emergency, at the very worst, I would go over to Dwayne Reed and I would get iron on hem tape and I would hem my pants up with a little thing, and just as a temporary solution. I would never leave the house like that, especially if I was running for governor. And this, I just, this is in a nutshell. This is Elise Stefanik's, and I'm just going to take this banner down so we can see the whole picture here. It's again like, and I don't mean this to be mean. I am saying this just as a fact, but there is, in the appearance category of Mar-a-Lago face and all that stuff, is Elise Stefanik, I think, has tried with her Fox get up and everything that she does when she goes on TV. But like for the most part, like she doesn't subscribe to the Donald Trump gaze of beauty standards. And I think that he has probably said things to her. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just guessing just because he's an animal. But I mean, come on.
Look, Elise Stefanik has lost some weight. And again, I don't begrudge her.
No.
God bless.
I mean,
I don't know if she bought that suit before she lost some weight and
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
forgot to tailor it.
No, because it fits her everywhere else.
Now, I will say this. It is true that wide pants are now the thing. It is true the long pants, not the usual, it used to be that they were sort of cropped a little above the ankle, that long pants are now the thing. That's not that. That's somebody.
That's not that.
That's somebody who went to Macy's, bought a suit. That's where she got it, and forgot to bring it to the tailor. And not one person around her.
What's the thing? She's the staff. What the hell?
Obviously said to her, Congresswoman.
Mm-hmm. And then to add insult to injury, Siena poll came out yesterday. It was published yesterday morning. Siena poll, Hochul keeps strong lead in race for governor. New Yorkers warm to Mom Donnie. So we can thank, I'm sure, in part Donald Trump to that, but also the fact that I think that he, for whatever, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen until he's sworn in, but, there's a lot of like human interest kind of stories that are dropping about him lately, that he plays soccer in Riverside Park and like what kind of person he is. And, as a New Yorker. And I think people are like, oh, maybe he's not so bad.
Donnie plays soccer in Riverside Park.
Yeah.
Why is he coming all the way up to the Upper West Side? Or maybe
he plays in one of those rec leagues, not Zog Sports, but something like Zog Sports.
Oh, really?
And, okay. Yeah. And Joe, my husband, Joe, played Zog Sports for years. And so, he was very interested in that. And he was like, oh, he plays rec soccer. That's so great. And it's like, we're too old to do this now. We'll hurt ourselves. But, he's still in that little pocket of age group that he can probably get away with it without, tearing his ACL. But the rest of this thing, just here really quick, I'll read this. New York Governor Kathy Hochul maintains double-digit leads over potential rivals, U.S. Representative Elise Stefanik and Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman in next year's race for governor, while slightly gaining in her own favorability rating, according to a Siena University poll of registered voters released Tuesday. According to the poll, Hochul holds a 19-point lead over the North Country Congresswoman and a 25-point lead over the Long Island lawmaker. Both Republican candidates have about the same amount of undecided voters.
So here's the deal. I don't know that Elise Stefanik's actually going to run. I don't think she's going to give up her congressional seat if this keeps going the way
she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to.
Oh, she's going to run for both. New York allows you to do that? Oh, okay. Well, that's a bullshit thing that you need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So she's going to run. She's going to lose. She's going to go back to the House. She's already fighting with the Speaker. I don't know if he's going to be around next term or, probably if Trump insists on it. Maybe she's going to try to be Speaker, I guess. Although I don't know that she has many friends in the caucus, in the conference.
No, she doesn't. She's not liked. She's not well liked.
Yeah. And the problem is she's got no moral impetus. I mean, I remember, listen, I was still at Fox when she got elected, and I remember Dana Perino, who was George Bush's White House press secretary, was so excited. Oh my God, we worked with Elise. She's so great. And
Yeah.
everyone was kind of behind Elise Stefanik. She was a Bushy.
Everybody was right. She was part of the compassionate,
Yeah,
conservative,
she was a
young
Bush.
guns. And listen,
Went to
when
Harvard,
that's
talked about it all the time. Like everybody who goes to
right.
Harvard
They were
does.
proud. She was the youngest woman to ever be elected to
Yep.
Congress. And she was so John McHugh, for people who don't know, John McHugh had been the congressman up in that district for years and years and years. He went to high school with my dad. Everybody knew him. My mom knew him, like, whatever, Republican, but like a normal guy. And Barack Obama appointed him to be Secretary of the Army back in the day when you could appoint a Republican to serve in your administration as a Democratic president. So that seat opens up and a guy named Bill Owens wins. And I think he's in there for like 2 terms and he decides he doesn't want to do it again. So Elise Stefanik is like, well, I'm from Albany, but I'm going to use my parents' like vacation home or cabin in the woods or whatever. I'm going to use their address to run for Congress up here. And so because she's connected in like the Bush world and had like made some allies or whatever, Karl Rove and Paul Ryan marched their way up to the North Country and they campaigned for her and she wins.
Clear the field.
Yeah, clear the field, and she wins handedly. And just so people know, Elise Stefanik had served as Paul Ryan's debate coach or debate person. She whips votes in the House now. I mean, like she's an operator and she's a very, very, very effective fundraiser. She can raise a lot of money. She's very good at that. But as a person and her personality, people don't like her. And she has proven herself over and over and over again that she has no moral compass. She has no spine. She cares about nothing except her proximity to power. And she has completely sold her soul to the devil in order to, get where she is, which I don't even know where else she's going at this point, quite frankly. I don't know. I think she wants to run for president. I think she will.
Of course. I think she tried desperately to be Trump's vice presidential pick.
Desperately.
She wants to be somebody. She doesn't care who.
She doesn't care what.
She wants to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't care. She just wants a title. She was picking out the curtains. I mean, she got screwed. Listen, to be clear, she was going to be the UN ambassador. That is the best gig on earth because you get to live in an incredible apartment in New York City. You get to be invited to all
packed her bags.
All society parties. You get to be being ambassador to the UN is a great thing. And for her, she would go and basically dunk on, everybody that Trump wanted her to dunk on in the UN, give a few speeches, and that would be that.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen. I mean, humiliatingly, she resigned from leadership. She was about to resign from her seat in Congress. Mm-hmm. Humiliatingly, Trump decided he didn't want to risk that seat because it was so close to the House.
And yes, it was so close. And also the guy, one of the people who's running for that seat, his name's Blake Gendabine, and I believe he was in the Peace Corps, and he's a farmer. He's a dairy farmer. Lives in the North Country, like totally like normal guy, nice, very well liked, and has been coming out swinging at her very early on. And I think that they saw the writing on the wall, and he's like, sweetheart, you stay there. You're better there. And we're going to give it to this guy. And, you just wait your turn. I'll get you. Don't worry, honey. I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that. And I saw this BJG, we love BJG and the BJG comments. I tried to forget about Paul Ryan. Because I'm having to do my show in another room right now because we have company. I'm like, I have this drawer full of political pins. I mean, like so many. I have like just so many. And I'm reminded that I had a whole bucket full of these at the Women's March, and I handed them out to people. If you can read that.
What does it say? I can't read it.
Is it backwards? F. Paul Ryan.
Oh.
So I handed them out. I was like, would you like a Paul Ryan pin?
Hey, do you know that Paul Ryan is currently on the Fox board? And do you know that Paul Ryan is currently, I believe, or at least was in charge of the governance part of the Fox board? And do you know that I have asked Paul Ryan personally in a letter delivered to his house in Wisconsin, and also in a letter delivered to him at Fox News to please release me from my NDA. And do you know that Paul Ryan has never responded? Yep. because they kept talking about how everybody at Fox, this was a legacy issue. The people who were misbehaving at Fox were long gone
Yeah.
or dead.
Mhm.
And that's great. And I'm happy to hear it. So if there's nothing to fear anymore because those people are not there anymore, why are you still keeping me to my NDA, Paul Ryan?
Listen, there's a lot of Republican men who like to make threats and like to pretend also that they are completely transparent and you know we're better now, and we have better workplaces now. We've learned our lessons.
Yep.
They haven't. None of them
Well,
have.
maybe they have and maybe they haven't.
Well,
But
in my experience, they have not. Um, and Julie, I know we started here a little late, so we're late on the other side of this. But one of the last things that I wanted to talk about, if you don't mind, really quick before we go, is because we've been following the Rob Reiner story, and I know both of us are big Rob Reiner fans and admirers. And this whole story, especially as it pertains to politics, has been so ugly and so awful. And it really has been a slightly heartening to see even the most staunch MAGA people coming out and say how disgusted they were with Donald Trump's comment. So, I mean, at least there's that. I mean, it's a low ass bar, but the details surrounding his murder and the murder of his wife Michelle are so awful. Um, and I just wanted to throw this up. That I don't know if you saw this, Julie, but Conan O'Brien had thrown a holiday party the night before.
yeah,
And it was a party to forget the bad year. Now, bad year, yes, for all the rest of us and all the reasons and the politics and everything, but specifically in California, if you remember, this year started with Los Angeles on fire and people losing their homes, thousands of people losing everything. And so this party was for all of their friends to be like, let's throw 2025 in the trash. What a terrible year. So and then Nick Reiner arrived. So Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were there, and they actually asked if their son Nick could come because they had asked Nick to move back in with him or something like that because he was so troubled. And so they said, "Can Nick come?" And Conan O'Brien said, "Sure." So it says Bill Hader and other guests worried that the erratic attendee, 6'3" and 230 pounds, big guy, had wandered in off the street. Um, so it says a group of powerful Hollywood creatives and executives gathered in Conan O'Brien's home in the Pacific Palisades, which the fires had decimated. Um, O'Brien had to evacuate, earlier in the year. Blah 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 blah. And then it says, but then the night progressed. A different kind of dark energy filled the room. An erratic male figure wandered around the party and interrupted conversations. Jane Fonda was there. Bill Hader, from if you know him from SNL. Whispers began to ripple through the party. This big guy was saying 6'3", 230 pounds. They thought that he'd wandered in off the street, but it was Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner's son, Nick. He had been struggling with drug issues. And so compassion was quietly urged. Sympathies and concerns for his parents, one of whom was a Hollywood giant, were expressed. And like I was saying, his name was not on the invitation, but they had asked Conan, can he come? His behavior, which often had been extreme and stressful, had grown degrees even more concerning in recent weeks. So things had been getting worse. They were reluctant to leave him alone in the guest house. So they were living in Brentwood, which Brentwood is a very affluent part of Los Angeles. If you know, the Kardashians lived there, and O.J. Simpson, and it's a very very.
no, they live in Calabasas. I don't think they live.
Oh,
in
they
Brentwood.
did. I thought they lived in Brentwood.
No, Calabasas. But a lot of people live in Brentwood. I mean, Brentwood
Well,
is like
whatever. Rich people.
yeah,
So
Brentwood is like it's.
I thought
it's like
back in the day they lived in Brentwood. Did they not?
I don't know, maybe, but now they live in Calabasas. But
Anyways, it
it's
doesn't matter.
yeah, it's almost like a its own little town in the middle of Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
it's like very
A neighborhood.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood. Like everybody kind of knows each
Yeah.
other, kind of thing. So he was under their supervision, living in a guest house. They didn't want to leave him there. That's why they brought him to the party. So Bill Hader, so Nick Reiner had interrupted Bill Hader, and Bill Hader's like, "Listen, I'm having a private conversation," and so Nick glared at Bill Hader, and it was very uncomfortable. And then so sometime later, shouts echoed. All conversations in the party stopped and turned towards the commotion. And so the two men arguing, which was Rob Reiner and his son, they were like having it out at this party. And so minutes later, the Reiners, Rob and Michelle, were like so embarrassed. And they go up to Conan and they're like, "We got to go. We're so sorry." Um, and they don't know exactly if Nick left with them, but everybody kind of went back to the party, but like the mood definitely had changed.
Right.
Um, so what happened next is at 4 a.m., their son checked into the Pierside Santa Monica, which I believe is a hotel, I think.
Yeah.
And there was a shower full of blood, bed sheets hanging over the window. And then they were discovered that they had been murdered the next day at 3:30 p.m. by their daughter. And they don't know exactly what the time of death was, but they're saying that they could have gone home and it could have happened right then, right after the
It
party.
sounds to me like they were probably asleep and he came in and he did it.
Oh,
Uh,
mm,
yeah, and apparently he slit their. I don't want to get too graphic, but
I
apparently
know
he slit
it's
their
awful. But
throat.
of course, his lawyer that he hired is like the Harvey Weinstein and
I
Kevin
wonder. I
Spacey.
wonder who's paying for that lawyer, by the way. Out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
yeah.
Um,
But
look,
yeah, so that's kind of the update, and it's just again like how awful and it's so tragic in every possible way.
yeah, and I have to say, I wrote a tribute to Rob Reiner yesterday, and I think you and I should do a daily dispatch just
I would
about,
love to. I'd
yeah,
love
just
to.
about Rob Reiner's legacy. So I don't want to do it here,
Yeah.
but I want to just remember Rob Reiner, not for this.
Mm.
Um, I want to remember him first of all. I think for the wonderful dad that he sounds like he was. It sounds
Yeah.
like he,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's the thing that is
yeah.
like so upsetting to me.
I think he tried everything. I think this is a kid who was addicted to drugs from, I mean, I think his first rehab was at 15, so he was
Mm.
addicted to drugs for more than half his life. Um, I don't judge people who are addicted. It is an illness and a disease. There are some people who could do cocaine and
Yeah. It
not get
sounds though
addicted,
like something else
but
is
they're,
going on
yeah,
there. Yeah.
listen, they're but for the grace of God, go all of us. I think both of us have known people, and I'm sure everybody here has known people who battled
Yeah.
addiction, and it's awful, and it's devastating, and it does something to your brain chemistry that is in some
Yeah.
ways irreversible.
Yeah.
And if he had been doing coke, and it sounds like crystal meth for more
Mm.
than half his life, meth is an awful drug that makes you paranoid, makes you crazy, could make you violent. Coke obviously is an upper, also makes you feel invincible.
Mhm.
And you don't just go to rehab and wake up the next day and say, "Oh, never mind." Your brain chemistry is changed forever, especially if you do that kind of amount of drugs and that amount of especially meth.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to just say that I you know, I have had friends who've gone through something similar. I know somebody's
Mhm.
going through something similar right now.
Mhm.
And you feel very helpless because you can't do anything to help them. And I
Yeah.
cannot imagine what that is like when it's your child. And maybe there are
Yeah.
people in the chat who've experienced that with their own kids. If so, my heart breaks for you, and I'm so sorry. And
Mhm.
I'm so deeply sorry for the Reiners, for his parents, for Nick's parents, obviously,
And
you know,
the
dead,
children
the children.
I
He's got a sister and a brother who now have to contend not just with the fact that their parents are both dead,
mm,
but with the fact that their parents are dead at the hand of their brother.
and so violently and
And so
publicly,
violently
and
and
it's just
horribly and publicly that everybody's going through this, you know, and there's speculation and there's
mm,
gossip and there are photographers and there are reporters hounding them.
yeah.
Um, the whole thing is tragic. It is tragic for Rob and Michelle Reiner. It is tragic for Nick Reiner. It is
Mhm.
tragic for his two siblings, one of whose names is Romy. I'm sorry, forgive me. I don't remember the name of his brother.
Yeah.
Um, It's awful. It's awful. And, people are I think there's a lot of kindness out there in the world towards his family. There's also a lot of I'm starting with the president of the United States, a lot of unkindness
Yeah,
and
cruelty,
and
cruelty
cruelty.
in the truest sense of the word, and I really like there is not one single decent cell in that person's body. Nothing. He is completely void of anything that is kind or compassionate or empathetic or anything. Um, he
Um,
and what he has done to the country with that, um, we're all feeling. We're all feeling it.
I don't know what to say because I do think we need to do a daily dispatch. I know we're going really long today, but I'm gonna say this. Rob Reiner didn't just make films. He made films with so much heart.
Mhm.
So much heart. Whether it is in some ways Spinal Tap, but more relevantly, The Princess Bride, which is
Mhm.
to me like the perfect little movie. It just is.
Yeah.
When Harry Met Sally,
Mhm.
I mean, all of them were just you left the theater and we watched all of them in the theater because back then, of course, in the 80s when I'm talking about these movies coming out, there was no streaming, there's no content.
No, you had to wait like a year for it to come out on
Yeah, and you
VHS
just
too,
made
yeah.
movies and you didn't know how they were gonna go. I mean, Spinal
Right.
Tap was a total disaster when it was made. Um,
Right. But
and
then it
and
became like a cult movie,
yeah,
and
and The
people
Princess
forget
Bride, I
people.
don't even think
Yeah.
it was in theaters that long. I think then it became a cult when it came out on VHS back then. I will tell you, and we'll talk about this more, I fenced in high school.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
I
I
remember
was
you
a
said that.
really good fencer in high school. I started fencing because of The Princess Bride.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Wow, you
like,
should talk
I just
about
thought
that.
it looked really cool. That's why I started fencing.
Mm.
That's why I tried out for the fencing team. I mean, I was never, that wasn't my
Little
fencing.
fencing Julie.
Yeah, little fencing Julie, who should have used that to get into college, but kind of did not do that. Um, but, 'cause I was good. And you and I talked about this before, we'll talk about this more in the Daily Dispatch, but when Harry Met Sally, everybody talks about how the 5th character in Sex and the City is New York City,
Mhm.
how they're the 4 women in New York City is kind of the 5th character. That would not have been possible without When Harry Met Sally,
Oh,
because
absolutely
that
not.
movie was New York.
Mhm.
That movie was, the reason she could plausibly sit at Katz's Deli and
Mhm.
masturbate and fake an orgasm is because people in New
Right.
York do that. There's no inside New Yorkers don't have inside voices.
No.
And by the way, if somebody were sitting next to you in New York City at a deli and started doing that, you wouldn't even think twice. You'd be like, "Oh,
I mean,
okay."
I'd turn around and be like, "What the
You
hell's
turn
going
around
on?"
and be like,
Yeah,
I'd
and I'd be
basically be
like,
like, "Yeah,
"Okay,
okay." You
are you
gotta laugh
really?"
about it, but it wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, it happens to Betsy," because that's the kind
No.
of stuff that happens. You have the neurotic friend who, with the wagon wheel coffee table.
Right.
Um,
And Roy Rogers. So
the
good.
um, and,
Baby
the
fish
bad
mouth, baby fish mouth.
baby fish um,
Yes, sir, that's my baby. No,
yep,
sir,
no
don't
sir,
be a
no me
baby.
baby. But I mean, all of it all of it
Oh,
is just a love letter. Spinal Tap was a
yeah.
love letter to music, and The
Mhm.
Princess Bride was a love letter to fairy tales and to
And
childhood,
the American president was a
and The
love letter
American
to
President was
American
a love
politics.
letter to politics as to what politics could be.
Mhm.
And so just we could talk more about this, but that's the
Yeah, yeah.
legacy that we wanna that's the legacy, um, that we that we wanna leave. That's
Mhm.
the legacy that we wanna talk about with Rob Reiner, not this
Yeah.
horrible tragedy. It's a family
Yeah.
tragedy.
I think that's the thing other than just, like, the obviously just at face value how awful it is just, like, because of all of those reasons and knowing how it happened is the most off because he was just such a good man and was trying to save his son, and for that reason and well, not for that reason, but because of all of that, that it's hard to wrap your mind around. And so, and I think that, the details will continue to emerge from this, but I do think that the overwhelming majority of the public will rally to tell these stories about how much we love the work he did. And while I will never ever be, the kind of artist or storyteller that Rob Reiner was, I certainly on a certain level can relate to it, to wanting to tell stories like that. Because that is always how I approach my work, in whatever medium I'm doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this, Michelle. We're going to do a Daily Dispatch just about Rob Reiner's movies and just to pay tribute to them this afternoon when we have a little bit of time. So, like,
and I need to drop the
oh, yes, you guys. So we're dropping the Bonnie Watson Coleman podcast like in the next, as soon as we get off, I guess maybe 10 o'clock.
I'm going to just schedule it. Yeah.
So we're going to schedule it out. So we'll watch it all together. It'll be a premiere. So let's just watch it all together. She's great. She's a truth teller. Love her to death. Sorry that she's leaving the house. She's retiring, but she's retiring on her own terms after decades of public service. So she deserves the time to do that. We'll do a Rob Reiner retrospective on his movies.
And where to get that podcast, you can watch it here on this channel. So please
like and subscribe.
To the Mayday Network. You can also find the Mayday Network on Apple Podcasts, where we put that podcast, and also sporadically publish the audio version of this show as well. So they're both there.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you tomorrow. We will definitely see you this afternoon about talking about Reiner. I just have to see if I have to go to MSNBC, Michelle. If I do, then we'll do it later in the afternoon. If we,
I've got something at 3, but otherwise I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll go from there. So everybody, thank you for joining us. Sorry I was late today. Blame it on the car service. And bye. Have a great day.
Bye.